Afghanistan is located on the old Silk Roads that connected Europe to Asia. Remember, we discussed that during the China class. So it's a crossroad for different civilizations. It has been for thousands of years. Even though it's been independent since 1747, they've had a troubled history with dozens of wars. Afghanistan's been at war for almost 50 years. They've been invaded by the Soviets, the United States, and 120 years ago they were invaded by the British. To make matters even more difficult, it's not one people group, but there are dozens of tribes that live in Afghanistan. And guess what? They don't like each other very much. Afghanistan and Central Asia, the region around it, is an extremely important place. Another word for important is strategic, which is a military word meaning you want to control it. Why would people want to control Afghanistan? Afghanistan is, again, a center for all that trade, especially with the new Chinese superhighway that's connecting Europe to China. Also, there's all sorts of valuable things that can be mined there, like diamonds and gold. Afghanistan's most important, though, for its drugs. The number one crop grown in Afghanistan is poppy, from which we get the drug opium. Poppy is the number one drug, the number one substance, the number one plant grown in Afghanistan. And almost their entire economy is based on it. The wars that have gone on in Afghanistan for the last 200 years are sometimes called the Opium Wars, because the different countries that fight over Afghanistan are fighting over control of opium. So Afghanistan, again, is a country in the region of Central Asia. Now the region, Central Asia, stretches from the Black Sea to China. And the landforms that you find there are mainly highlands and desert. So when we say highlands, we mean a high altitude place. And when we say desert, we mean someplace that's very dry. Every country in Central Asia is landlocked. And that's how we decided to define it as Central Asia. The country is landlocked. That means that it doesn't border the ocean in any place. No access to the sea. The western section is called the Caucasus. It's a funny word. It's famous for its mountain ranges in the west. Countries like Armenia and Georgia are part of the Caucasus. The eastern portion of the region is separated by high plateaus, which means a high altitude flat area, and basins, which is a low flat area. Some of those basins have water and fertile soil for farming. There are many earthquakes in the region. In fact, I experienced earthquakes when I was over there. Earthquakes are caused by tectonic activity. Let's talk about water. So the region has inland seas. They include the Caspian Sea, the Aral Sea, and Lake Balkhash. These inland seas have faced different problems due to environmental changes. And the environmental changes happen to be human-caused. For instance, the Aral Sea was diverted to irrigate farmland so people could grow more crops. But it's running out of water. Lake Balkhash has a very similar problem. The Soviets dammed up rivers, and then the lake started running out of water. The Caspian Sea is still doing okay, but they're overfishing it, so there's less species of fish there than there used to be. But what's the main water system that you'll find in Central Asia? It will be the water cycle, where you have snowfall in the form of precipitation, freezing up at high altitude, melting during spring and summer. It comes down into the rivers and the aquifers, and then people use it, it evaporates and goes back into the system, right? The water cycle. let's talk about the Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea is bounded by 4 countries: Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Iran, and Russia. These 4 countries are not known for playing well with their neighbors, and they're not known for sharing. However, the 4 of them do share a loose alliance. That said, the biggest problem that they have is that there are massive resources of oil and natural gas under the Caspian Sea. So guess what? Each country maintains military forces and a navy on the Caspian Sea, and they patrol what they consider their part of the waters. They've been negotiating for 20 years as to actual rights over what, and they have yet to agree to anything. So at any time, the area around the Caspian Sea could cook off as another hot spot in world politics.